Hey everyone, Sarah Nova. And today I am working on this 1972 Triumph 500 uh, Daytona, a T100R. Um, and what are we doing to it? We got it running, some other stuff, and then now we're doing round two on it, which is to add a electronic ignition, Podtronics regulator rectifier, and replace the petcox, kind of do some other stuff. So what's old is new once again. But we're not going to talk about this bike today. We're going to talk about a bike that came out 7 years after this being an air-cooled pushrod, two-cylinder motor with a four-speed gearbox, kickstart only. Where 7 years later, we have this 1979 Honda CB750K, double overhead cam, four-cylinder, still air-cooled, but electric start, not even a Kickstarter in case the electric start doesn't work. They were that confident by this point. These were a thing of the past. And still air cooled. I think maybe I said that. But what else? This is a custom bike we built back in 2018. This was a customer who lives out in Martha's Vineyard, and he brought us his bike that somebody else had built early on. I mean, we moved into our first storefront in 2016. We've been around for a couple years before that, but our first public-facing storefront. And this bike came in soon after that, and we did some work on it, kind of threw it back out the door, and it wasn't really good. Somebody else had built it, and we weren't like ready to rebuild it at that point. And he wrote it again, and then came back to us and said, "Hey, I'd really like you guys to do it your way." And he wanted the Nova logo on it, which is wonderful for us. So we did. We brought it back, and we kept the style he had. It was a brat kind of cafe racer. Bratted out the thing, and you got the Firestone tires, no fender on the front. Not terribly groundbreaking stylistically, especially in 2018, amidst the throes of the cafe racer resurgence. But we still wanted to make it look tidy and nice, and so some of the detail stuff we did. We've got these little Motor Gadget M-Blaze units here, little tiny blinkers, so bright, so tiny. We love those things. And we've got the Motor Gadget Mini speedometer here, and just made some tiny little mounting spacers to mount that in there. The headlight is off the shelf. I'm probably just going to end up walking through and going through stuff here. Clip-ons, not stock. The reservoir is your typical aftermarket sort of universal round Japanese master cylinder. Those actually work great. I use one of those on my Moto Morini 500 race bike in place of the stock Grimeca, and it works much better than the Grimeca did. So there's a lot of good aftermarket stuff out there. Speaking of old being new, forks were stock. We powder coated the lowers on them. The wheels we just painted. We didn't powder coat them, and that's sort of it's a budget friendly way to get the look you want. As long as you're willing to come back to it and stay on top of it, it can look pretty good. This bike is clearly a bit dusty. He does ride it a lot. He said he actually has very few running concerns with it. He just kind of wants us, it's back in the shop now for us to go through it a little bit. We haven't seen it since, oh boy, one of the shows in Boston, one of the Wild Rabbit shows in Boston was he rode it from the vineyard up to Boston, and he brought it to a show. But that was maybe 2020, or that was COVID year. I don't even remember when. It was a while ago, and we haven't seen it since. So we're just going through some other stuff, just give it a service. He says it's about time, but he rides it all the time. But anyway, it's a little bit dirty. We have not cleaned it since it came in. It's coming off of a very sandy and salty island. So it's got some life in it. And if you watch these videos, my tastes. I love that. And I'd rather have a bike that looks like it just came off the street than something that looks like it never got on the street in the first place. What else? We have painted headers. Actually, I think these are powder coated, and this is a problem. I'm glad to see this. It's been a while, so it's not abnormal that it would start to wear, and especially in such a salty environment as being on the coast. But you can see the headers up here are losing their coating, and we've had a hard time with getting some powder coats to fit to take on high heat headers, and so that's something that we're going to continue to evolve. We've stopped using our regular powder coater for these things because we've had a hard time getting them to fit. Didn't know this was a problem. I'm not sure this is a problem given the environment it's in, but it's something we're going to touch up anyway, just for the cosmetics of it. The tank, obviously not a stock Honda paint job on it, but it is a stock Honda tank from a 79K. And the silver and black, I think, is a very nice look. My first car was a 1967 Carmen Ghia, and when we went through it and rebuilt it, I rebuilt it with my mother. When we did, we painted it and we chose out all the colors we wanted, and my choice of color was Porsche Silver at 16 years old. And this is kind of similar, not quite as dark, but I am a sucker for silver cars. The new Nova van, if you watch these regularly, you notice is silver. So I like it. Todd Sweet Toyota Avalon, silver. My Lancia Beta, silver. Well, maybe more gray now because it's a little bit dull. But anyway, very, very simple, but in my mind, elegant paint. I'm not trying to toot my own horns. I don't actually design these. My business partner, Pete, does the design on it. So he and the customer came up with this, and I was super stoked to see that it was not garish. It wasn't super overdone. I love a good stripe, simple logo. And it's pretty cool. This tank is so large, and I think that it works really well because the engine is very wide. So it's sort of you don't leave this space there. It actually looks pretty good. A lot of the double overhead cam Honda customs you see, the motor, you have to either make it a huge centerpiece or do something with it. And I think the stock tank actually balances it pretty well once you take off the other things around it. And so that's what we did here. The subframe modified to take a seat here, this custom seat. The seat we had done, I'm going to guess, I don't see the tag on it, but this stage in our time period, we would have had Wes at Counterbalance Cycles in Rhode Island doing seats for us. So that is probably one of his, but there's normally a tag on his. And he did amazing work. He got so popular we couldn't wait in line anymore. We didn't do enough to be on his fast list. So. Got back with the M blazes on the rear. Shout out to Moto Gadget, and then these shocks, these fancy shocks. I think these are KBA. I don't know these. This is something that Pete found, but nice. Oh no, these are YSS. That's right. Yeah, these are YSS. I remember when we got these because we opened a dealership account with them, and we've been happy. When I've ridden this bike, I've been very happy with its handling over stock. It still handles like a Honda double overhead cam bike does, but this is a great improvement over stock. You have a ton of adjustment here on the preload, and nice lightweight aluminum billet stuff. I mean, it's got the right bits to it, so it's pretty good. The pipe is there's a 4-2 header, which I believe the stock K was a 4-4. So it's probably an aftermarket 4-2 header, and then these pipes that we dragged off the internet somewhere. And they're loud as hell. They do not do much in the way of quieting, but they do sound great when it's on song. The carbs, if you know these things, pod filters and CV carburetors, cue the comments, please. A lot of people hate it. Not supposed to run like that, et cetera, et cetera. I somewhat agree, but also you can really make them go if you spend the time to jet it properly. And they really do go. These bikes do wake up quite a bit. It's important to remember that this time period, mid-late 70s into the early 80s, was sort of the first round of EPA regulations and stuff. And instead of designing more efficient engines, what the manufacturers did is just make the carbs really lean. They detuned stuff. The pipes had a lot more back pressure to deal with the noise, and the carbs got very, very lean to deal with the emissions. And that's great, but it takes a lot of the fun out of it. So if you're using a bike that's basically just for short purposes, you're not traveling the world on it, you're commuting on it, you're just having a little bit of fun, taking that stuff off really opens it up, and you can really get to the potential of it with otherwise a stock engine. We're not talking cams here, we're not talking porting, we're not talking anything but stock pistons, no crank work, none of that stuff. Just a little bit opening up and proper jetting. So that's something we did on this, and it really helped. The original build again was okay, but it wasn't really to a good spec. And then this is a little license plate holder that we have made out of not stamp steel. It's water jet cut, and nothing special, but it keeps it sort of doubles as a very rudimentary fender, and holds the tail light, which works okay. The battery box is here. We integrated that as part of the frame. So you have a very small battery in there, and your regulator rectifier, turn signal. No, this one has a whole. No, this is still using stock wiring. We didn't put a whole M unit on this, so your relays and stuff, I believe, are still under there. Could still be under the tank. I actually haven't seen this under here for 7, 8 years now, so I kind of forget some of that. And yeah, what else? Stock controls. It's sort of when you're building a bike and you're not trying to put half of a house mortgage into it. It's important to make decisions on what are you really going for, and not just try to replace everything, for 2 reasons. One being that you can really destroy the look of it if it's not coherent. And if you work on small changes and keep what was there before that works okay, you still get the spirit of the bike. This still looks period. It is period. This is 70s stuff, early 80s stuff, and the bike still looks like that, just upgraded or updated a little bit. And then the other thing is you can get some real junk out there, and the OEM stuff works better than the junk. So if you start buying stuff and you don't know what you're getting and you're not sure, you can just make a headache for yourself. So tasteful mods is the line I like to follow. And I'm sure now somebody who's a purist and would see this and say there's nothing tasteful about this at all. And I completely hear where you're coming from. I am a purist about certain bikes. Certain bikes I say never ever cut them, never chop them, never do anything. I'm on this Triumph. I am having a mental breakdown over the thought of drilling a hole to mount a coil that doesn't belong where it's supposed to be. And I don't know if I want to do that, because I do believe in preservation. But it depends on the bike, and it depends on, also what the customer wants to do. There are certain bikes, if a customer wanted me to cut it up, I would say absolutely no way. I'm not going to do that. But for the most part, if somebody brings us their bike, we will do what they want us to do with it. Yeah, so this was fun. Now, we're not doing builds like this anymore. When somebody brings us a bike and says, hey, can you do some paint? Can you do this and that? Can you do that? Just because it's really hard to do it, even on a budget, it's hard to do it and have it make sense for us and the customer. It does work out. This worked out great. It does work out a lot in a lot of ways. We have some cool bikes out there that we've built. We've loved building them. They always take longer than we want. They always don't make us any money because it just takes so long to do stuff. Subcontracting stuff like paint, powder coat, what have you, that adds another factor to it. And so we've stopped doing builds to a customer's spec or with a customer's involvement. And now we are going to be focusing on doing our own builds and the pace we want, the investment level we want, and then selling them when we're done. So we do love working on custom stuff. The design part is super fun. As I said, Pete, my partner, he does a lot of the design work, but I get to chime in and I get to give my opinion. And I like that. I like to be a part of the talking process, even if I'm not the head honcho about it all. So yeah, let us know what you think. If you love it, let us know. If you hate it, cool. I don't mind. And if you are into these bikes at all, the CB750, this era, this was the second coming of the Honda 750. This is actually 10-year anniversary. So 1969, the 4-cylinder 750 single cam came out. 10 years later, they launched the double overhead cam, and this had some beasts. This spawned the CB900F, the CB1100F. I mean, some amazing machines, and it's a great machine in its own right. They still can be gotten rather affordably, which is cool. They're relatively reliable. They're great bikes. A little harder to work on than the single cams as far as adjusting valves and stuff like that. It takes a little bit more of a real dedicated mechanic, a professional mechanic, or a dedicated hobbyist to get into that kind of stuff, or bring it to us. We'll tune them up. We do them all the time. So yeah, let us know what you think about them. If you had a bike similar to this, let us know. If you built a bike of this kind of style in the past 10, 15, 20 years and you're still rocking it, let us know. If you're not, let us know that too. We love those stories. I think that's it for this one. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you again.